Joining me on my show today, I have one of the most exciting MMA prospects. You can catch his next fight on November 18th at Bellator 288, where he's going to be taking on his toughest opponent to date. Of course, I'm talking about Jaylon New Breed Bates. Mr. Bates, welcome to my show, man. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, brother. It's a pleasure to be here. God put us all together, and we're here for a reason. And let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. I have to tell you, Jaylon, when I watch you fight, I get excited every single time I see you out there. I feel like your game is constantly evolving and you're showing new and more new techniques, more tools, more weapons every single time I see you out there. I know that you're with the McKees. I know you guys are working on all kinds of secret stuff in the lab that you can't talk to me about right now. But can you tell me a little bit about just kind of how your camp's been and just kind of where you're at? Because we got a big fight in front of us.
Um, right now, my headspace is amazing. I this is one of the best camps I've had in a while. My last two camps where they were they were disciplined. I would say this camp is a very more disciplined camp, and I can't wait to put in the you know reveal the fruits of my labor. And Antonio has been a great coach. AJ has been a great mentor. Slice has been a great mentor. G. So going with these guys, man, I can't wait to really show what we do at the body shop and display my display only some of my talent.
Is it kind of hard to believe that you've been in the promotion as long as you have been? You've already been with Bellator for 2 years running now, and like you talk a little bit like where were you at when you first made that walk 2 years ago compared to like where you are today? It's got to be a light year difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have my own business. That's for sure. I didn't have my own business, and I wasn't making the moves, the money moves that I'm making. Um, and I wasn't making the money I'm making for sure. So, but yeah, my headspace was. I definitely think I thought more, you know, more just like amateurly, and I feel like now my headspace is more understanding the fight game and putting my tools to test against the best. And I can't wait to do that against, A1 steak sauce, Jornel Lugo.
I have to tell you, like, I know that what we see on television, it's only a small sample size of the amount of work that you're putting in behind the scenes that nobody else sees, right? You are in there for 50, 60 hours a week, probably more than that, torturing your body. We only see you in there for 15 minutes, right? And in those 15 minutes,
Yeah.
It's just like, well, in your case, even less than that. These guys are getting out of there a lot faster than that. Very seldom do you go to decision. You're typically able to find a way to finish these fights very, very quickly. I know that wasn't the case last time out. Last time out, we went the whole 15 minutes, but I had to ask you, like, you make this look so easy. And I know that's not the case. I know these are wars that are out there that you're fighting, but I always ask somebody who's had a great amount of success so early on in their career, like, what is it that keeps you grounded? What is it that keeps you humble? Because this is a type of sport where if you aren't humble, if you aren't grounded, man, you're just one mistake away from taking an L.
Um, I would say, man, it's not even about. I don't even think it's about being humble personally, and I know people aren't going to agree with me on this, but it is. I think people should be humble to God, but to man, be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about being humble. If you're cocky or you're arrogant, be who you are. I respect that a lot more than being humble and being. If you're not a humble person and you try to be humble, then that becomes fake. And then if you're fake, then that becomes it's a whole thing. So it's like I think be who you are personally. And for me, when I fight, I just love fighting and I love training. And I think that one day, very in the near very future, I will be a world champion. And especially with the world and the mindset I have, I'm going to continue pushing forward and continue evolving my game. The more money, shit, the more the money's great. too. The more money I make, the harder I train, the better I work, and yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited for you because you aren't close to realizing your potential in this sport. You still have a long way to go in terms of fulfilling your athletic potential. You're not close to your athletic prime yet. And I thought your last fight was a really good indicator to me of just how good you are. And let me explain kind of what I mean by that. This was a
Uh,
guy, you were going up against a guy, Mark Coates. I know he doesn't have the best record on paper, but what he does have over you is experience, professional experience, lots of it. You're going in there against the guy that, a tough guy with a lot of fights under his belt. And that's always a really good indicator to see just kind of where somebody's at against somebody who's been in that cage for a really long time. I was a little surprised it was a split decision personally. That was kind of a surprise to me. I thought at the end of the 15 minutes, the it was pretty clear to me at least who the winner was. But when you reflect back on that fight, Jaylon, when you think about that fight against Coates, I mean, you had to have been happy with that, right? I mean, you're talking
I was,
about a tough fight against a tough opponent.
I was, I wasn't happy with the choices I made before the fight, leading up to the fight, that could have changed the course and direction of the fight and swung
Mm-hmm.
it in my favor. But yes, I was happy that I did get a win over someone with a bigger record than me,
Mm-hmm.
because 17 fights, or well, I don't know, 10-7, 10-7 is still a good record. And I mean, not a good record as in sense of good record, but like experience and overall
Yeah.
being professional. So yeah, man, because I definitely thought when I hit him, I was like, oh wow, he has a hard head. So
Mm-hmm.
one difference is I do understand between amateurs and professionals is the body. The body is hardened more as a professional than amateur, and that's one thing that I feel like I worked on, is hardening not just evolving my skill set, but my body as well, and just hardening that.
I thought it was a really good fight for you. I thought you were able to, at least to me, that is the type of fight with that I always kind of circle. I'm like, we're about to find out if this guy's real or not, and because that was a test. You passed the
Yeah.
test. Now you have an even more difficult test in Jornel Lugo. You're talking about a guy. He lost one fight against Sabatello, and I've seen him fight before. A very talented, a very gifted fighter. Much like you, he has a history of putting guys away. Not to the extent that you do, to be fair. He has way more decisions than you. But again, you're talking about a guy that has the ability to use jujitsu. He's able to choke guys out. Does this fight excite you? Because I'm excited for it.
Yeah, he excites me. I remember seeing him at the airport on my first fight when I went to decision with Sapino.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing him at the airport, and he was like looking at me, and I knew, like,
One day.
one day, because he was looking at me, and I was just like, I got up and I walked kind of close to him, went to throw something away, and I remember seeing him, and he just kind of stared at me. So yeah, it's cool to see future opponents, and at the end of the day, it's all a competitive sport. I'm here to go in there and create a masterpiece, and fight the best in the world. And at the end of the day, I think I'm the best in the world. So I'll fight them all.
Can you tell me a little bit, Jaylon, about your opponent? Like, obviously, I'm not going to ask you a question about like what your game plan is. We're about to find out here when you fight in a couple weeks. But what I did want to ask you is, what are some things that Lugo does that impressed you?
Yeah, his distance, his range, he's pretty good at managing that. And but other than that, he sucks at everything else. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, his distance and range is amazing, but to me, it's just like he's a very basic fighter.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very dynamic, and you know, maybe he will have some dynamic stuff in this next fight, and that'll surprise me. But other than that, I mean, we're gonna go in there and basically, he has that strong jab, so we know the jab's coming. We know punching's coming. He's a puncher, so
Do you think you have other advantages over him? Like, and what I mean by that is, do you have other like intangibles? Like, for example, do you believe like your footwork's better than his? Do you believe like your decision making's better than his? Like, I try to look at people as like a complete fighter, not just necessarily punches and kicks and wrestling, just kind of like your decision
I,
making. You know what I mean?
everything is comes down to instinct. My
Mm-hmm.
instinct is, and at the end of the day, it's a hunt to be hunted, and I'm a predator, so it is what it is.
Can you Jaylon, like a win over Lugo, I mean, that puts you right in the driver's seat, and you're right on the cusp of fighting some of the top 10 guys in the in your weight class. That's got to be really really exciting for you. That's got to be something that that's got to be something that you look at some of these guys in the top 5, the top 10, and there's some really interesting guys out there for you potentially.
Yes, sorry, I just keep getting these kind of calls.
No
Yes,
problem.
I can't wait. And the thing is, though, I'm only 2 years professional. I can't wait by the beginning of 2024, or the middle of 2024. Watch how I just want everyone to watch how I take over the game. Not that I'm not going to do it next year, but it's with the fights next year just going to tune me up for 2024.
It's going to be really exciting to see. I'm really excited for you because I still think there are a lot of people out there that don't quite understand how good that I think that you are, and what so many other people think when they watch you. You got a lot of potential, and it's just a matter of putting in the time and getting out there, getting that experience, and you're doing that fight by fight by fight. You're climbing up that ladder. It's been really cool to see over these past couple of years. A win over Lugo. Can you tell me just before I let you go, like what would something like that like mean for you? Like would that be something that you can hang your hat on maybe for a little bit because you're talking about taking out a guy
Uh,
with quite some name with some name recognition. He's a good fighter.
I want to do it the way, if as long as I do it the way I have planned, we have trained for.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I do stuff that we've trained in the gym, I'll be happy with the win or loss, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I do the stuff we're trained for. But if I don't do the stuff we're trained for and I just go out there and win, I'm gonna know that like that's like expected. But that means I need to work on listening and not even listening, but implementing the stuff we work on in the gym. Because when you look back at actually that Mark Coates fight, when Coach says, believe in your hands, I hit him with a straight left and a few other shots. And I think I like one thing I can't wait to do is, he has hands. We're going to test those hands. We've been working on those hands. So we're going to go out there and fight. And I can't wait to do that because he's a good stand up fighter, but he doesn't have knockout power,
Mm-hmm.
which is good because I don't have to worry about that.
I think it is cool. And like the other thing that is just kind of interesting to kind of think about, and I'm always curious, like when you get in that corner and you're getting feedback, like you getting feedback in the corner, that's kind of a relatively new thing. A lot of your earlier fights, you might occasionally go into round 2, but like by and large, these guys, like I said, they're getting out of there pretty quick. And that's always kind of like a test. You're fighting a lot of eyes on you. You're on Showtime. I mean, we all know you're fighting in a big arena. We're not talking about an amateur fight anymore, right? A lot of eyes, a lot of noise, a lot of chowder, a lot of distractions. And I always ask, like, you know, the good fighters, it's the ability to like, are you listening to your coach actively? Are you able to make those adjustments in between rounds? And then hopefully when he asks for things when the fight's actually happening, are you hearing those instructions and are you applying them? And that's just kind of like a whole new level of this sport. Some guys are good at it, some aren't.
Right, right. And it's you don't have to look at someone to listen to them. You can hear with your ears through the side. So yeah, that's why I love this sport because it's a ultimate like concentration,
Yeah.
like ultimate concentration, and it's raw energy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I think like why I like covering the sport so much is because for me anyway, everyone at your level I'm saying this in general terms. So don't anyone take this verbatim and start yelling at me in the comments section. But what I am trying to say, at your level, everybody's good. Everybody
Yeah,
knows how to strike. Everybody knows how to do jujitsu. Everyone knows how to wrestle. And if you haven't, like, you're about to get exposed and you'll get kicked out, right? People will get exposed if you don't have all of the disciplines that are required in this game. What it becomes, and I think you're alluding to this, it becomes a chess match. It becomes a
yeah,
thinking man's game.
yes, absolutely. And that's all and that literally is the game I play. I wake up, I take a shit, and I play chess. Uh, well, actually, not in that order. Actually, I wake up, pray, take a shit, and then play chess. So
Hey, there you go.
then go make my coffee. So yeah, man, I definitely think it's the ultimate chess match, and that's what I love about it. Because if you're not good at chess, if you're not good at thinking a couple steps ahead, a lot of steps ahead, setting up a plan, setting up a play. A lot of the people, you know what? Lately, I've been watching Alex Pereira.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Pereira, the way he sets things up. I don't know, you know, the guy who's gonna fight Izzy. That's gonna
Yep.
be another fight. Do I want Izzy to win? Nah, I like Alex a little more because of the way he sets things up and the way he's family, like the way how humble he is,
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't he's not as flashy as Izzy.
Yeah.
I'm not a flashy person, and all, at the end of the day, it becomes hard to market guys like that
Mm-hmm.
because they're not going to get you the major eyes because they're too humble. That's like people
Yeah.
they're going to think that he's boring, but he's good, and I can't wait for that fight. So setting things up like Alex Pereira, yeah,
I'm excited for that. For me, I am the type of guy, I don't care too much about flair or flashy. I like to see guys that, and it's very simple. I have a very simple formula for the type of fighters I like to watch. When you encounter adversity,
yeah,
when you're a boxer, let's just say, and you get outboxed one day, and all of a sudden you have to turn into a grappler, you have to turn into something that you typically wouldn't. It's like, okay, for me to be a fan of you, it's like, do you fight with ego? Because the best fighters don't. Like, are
yeah,
you able to put your ego aside and do what it takes to win? Like, you're a striker or you're a wrestler. Do you have the ability? Do you have it within you to not be egotistical and to do what it takes to win no matter what? Even if it's
yeah,
not flashy. Some guys will do that, other guys won't. And that's why I like to see it's like, hey, every once in a while, you catch a guy on a wrong day and all of a sudden he'll get superpowers and he can strike just as good as you. And you're like, okay, well, I have to go to a plan B because I will find a weakness. And it's the guys that do what it takes to win
right,
that's what makes this so appealing to me.
absolutely, absolutely, I agree.
Jaylon, before I let you go, I wanted to say thank you for being on my show. You're an absolute gentleman. I know that you have a really big fight right ahead of you, and it's really, really exciting. It's not lost to me that you're still in camp and you got a bunch of other things to do. I appreciate you spending part of your Friday evening with me. Were there any sponsors or was there anyone out there that you'd like to talk about before I let you go tonight?
Yeah, man. Just thank you to everyone who's helped me during this camp. You know, everyone who's contributed to the camp, everyone who's contributed to just me as a person and my development as a human being. And we're gonna keep rocking and world champion 2024. Let's try to get that. Let's try to get that going or something. And yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep making good fights. I'm gonna keep picking good fights. I'm gonna keep making sure fights are interesting and developing my skill. And yeah, shout out to Antonio McKee, the whole body shop. Shout out to my parents. Yeah, keep it up, my little
And
brother. Shout out the Marines. My little brother. Don't know, the platoon name and all that, but yeah,
hey, well, November 18th, you're going to have your time to shine. It'll be on Showtime. Make sure you guys check that out. Mr. Jaylon Bates.